Freed of London is a ballet shoe manufacturer supplying pointe shoes to renowned ballet companies around the world, such as the Royal Ballet, the New York City Ballet, and the Paris Opera. Pointe shoes are specifically made shoes which allow ballerinas to dance on the tips of their toes, and Freed of London produces around 350,000 shoes every year. Around 250,000 of them are handmade in a factory in Hackney.
Freed of London was founded in 1929 by Frederick Freed. Also, his wife as well was alongside him. His wife was a hat maker, so she helped add little intricate design processes. The ethos for us has always been to make shoes for every sort of dancer. In the beginning, Frederick Freed noticed that shoes were always built in a stock process, like stock way. So he just started to measure people's feet and make them customly to them. And I feel like we still uphold this ethos today.
Makers are the employees constructing the pointe shoes. Since the shoes are handmade, the final fit often varies from maker to maker, and ballerinas tend to get attached to a specific maker over the years for their perfect fit. The job of a maker is very physical, requiring a lot of upper body strength, and it usually takes a year to become a proficient maker. Each maker can produce between 28 to 40 shoes every day.
I was taught the basics at the beginning to make a shoe. There's the soft toes. That means soft toes, they're just all soft, not a block. And then when you grasp the idea how it's all put together, and then they start you on the block toes, and that was gradually you build your way up. The block is something ain't made out of like something solid. It's all made out of paste, SM and flour, and then there's no lefts, no rights, and it's all you have to turn inside out.
Freed of London pointe shoes are made using the traditional turn shoe method. The block, which is the hard part on the top of a pointe shoe, is made from a paste which then hardens. The process of making a pointe shoe begins with finding the perfect fit for each dancer. Once these specifications have been determined, they are given to the maker who will start constructing the pointe shoe.
They've got the sole, they put the sole onto the last, they'll tack it onto that, then they'll put the the last through the upper. Once they put the upper over it, they'll tack that down so it's attached to it. Then they'll start to build it up with the paste. This is what makes the block. Obviously the paste is later cooked and hardened. So once they've got the paste on there, that's when they start to do the pleating, whilst it's still a bit spongy, wet and malleable. So they've added the pleat in there, they've then got the fishing wire, and then the fishing wire will be pulled as tight as possible to make sure that the upper and the pleats are as close to the sole channel as possible. So once this is done, they then will put these shoes in their baskets, they'll load them up to the channel stitches at the back of the factory, and they'll stitch the sole to the upper. Once it goes back down the middle towards the makers will then take the shoe, flip it inside out. They'll use like a magic broom. They'll use that to flip the other side out, and this reveals the pretty satin on the other side, the pink. Once they've done this, they'll then put it back onto the last to give it the shape of the pointe shoe. Bear in mind at this point, the paste is still wet, it's not been cooked, it's not hard yet. At the end of the day, the makers will then put their wraps into the oven. It's a controlled temperature, it gets really hot, and then it cools down, goes all the way down, all the way up, all the way down. This is from about 4:30 in the afternoon till about 7 in the morning. The next day, Raf, who's the training supervisor and quality control, he'll come in, he'll load all of the shoes off of the racks, put them onto his racks, check them all, take them next door to the binding room where they start the next process. So this is where the shoe will be tacked, it will be measured. Once they're hand cut, they then go into first binding, which just adds a little bit to the front, a little row. Then it goes to second binding, where the whole binding is added around the shoe. Then it goes over to our cleaners. They'll scrape any excess paste out, cut any material down, and then from there they're just paired with their tickets and ready to go to their new homes.
When Frederick Freed first opened his shop in a basement in Covent Garden in 1929, British prima ballerina Margot Fonteyn was one of his first customers. Now some of the world's most well-known ballerinas continue to use Freed pointe shoes every day.